Now, again, this is based off of a conversation that I had with an Arminian on Pal Talk who said, if God decrees whatsoever comes to pass, then and this is all his will, it's his will that all of this everything take place, then why does God judge people for doing the will of God? I mean, they're doing, when they sin, for instance, they're doing precisely what God wants them to do. According to his will, they are sinning. You, the Calvinist, said that God decrees whatsoever comes to pass. It is his will that all of this take place, including sin. So why is God judging and holding people accountable for doing the very will of God? Your position is inconsistent and illogical, he said. Now, that's not the first time I've heard this argument. But the answer I gave him, and the answer that I normally respond with, is one of my favorite verses dealing with this subject, is Exodus 4:21. Now, I tend to use this as an example quite often because of the reason, due to the fact that both God's will of command and his will of decree are both found in this one verse. Now, we can find God's will of decree and command in other texts where they might be divided by a few verses or in different contexts, but this is one place, at least that I know of, where both are found in a single verse. So this is why I use this one often. And of course, the point being is that there is God's will of command and his will of decree. There's two different issues. What God decrees will take place and what God commands people to do. Those are two different issues. And Exodus chapter 4 verse 21 says this. I'm just basically quoting it from memory. I might even be paraphrasing it. But in the text, the first half of that text, that verse, God is telling Moses, you're going to go to Egypt, and you are going to tell Pharaoh to let the people go. Okay? That was God's command. So God was commanding Pharaoh through Moses to let the people go. That is a command of God. In the very second half of the verse, God says this, but I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go. That is the decree of God. God decreed that Pharaoh would not let the people go. Now, regardless of how God hardened Pharaoh's heart, that's irrelevant. That's not even the point. The fact remains that God decreed that Pharaoh would not let the people go, and there was reasons for that. And this is not the video to exegete the whole scenario there. But the point is that we see both command and decree in the same verse. Pharaoh, let the people go. I am commanding this. At the same time, I'm going to harden your heart so you won't let the people go. That is what I am decreeing is going to take place. Now, which one of those was Pharaoh held accountable to? Did God hold Pharaoh responsible or accountable for God's decree or for God's command? Well, clearly it was his command, as Pharaoh was judged for disobedience. We see this in the 10 plagues, and we also see it ultimately when he drowned them, killed them in the Red Sea. So our responsibility is not based upon what God decrees is going to take place. Our responsibility is based upon what God commands us to do. So the argument against the position, the determinist position, the Calvinist position, that God cannot hold us responsible since we're just doing his will, they fail to recognize the two wills of God, decree and command. We are responsible based upon the command, not the decrees. The argument is bulletproof and irrefutable. No one's ever been able to refute that. Another stupid objection answered.